Hello and welcome back to the second part of this layers tutorial from digitalphotographycourses.co.uk. My name is Glenn Tilliard, and if you followed the last lesson you will have probably drawn yourself a little man or a little lady or a pet or whatever you've chosen to do to sort of demonstrate the layers technique. If you haven't done that, can I suggest you go back and have a look at that tutorial, because it really will give you a good bit of practice. If we just look at the layers for this picture that we have here, we've created a face, a head, an arm, and as we pointed out at the end of the last lesson, we can actually move any of these layers independently. So for instance, if I just click on the legs and I click on the move tool, I can actually pick his legs up and just put them behind his head and turn him into some sort of acrobat. There we go, or put them back where they need to be. That's actually moving the layers within the picture, but also what I can do is I can move the layer within the sort of stack. So for instance, if I take the layer that says buttons and put them below the body layer, the buttons will become invisible. Well, we haven't switched the visibility off, this is the visibility on and off. What we've actually done is they're hiding behind the body layer. So we can actually move sort of layers about to create different effects and different images. What we have here is the arms and the body, which are the same colour, so for all intents and purposes they look like they're actually joined. What we can do if we actually wanted to join these together is we can do that, and the easiest way to do that is to go and switch off all the layers apart from the two layers that we're interested in, including the background layer here. And so now what you actually see is we've got the body layer visible and we've got the arms layer visible. And if we just go to the top edge of this menu, we can click on there and we can say merge visible. Now if we say flatten image, that will actually flatten all the layers and they will all become visible. Merge visible will, just as it sounds, it will only merge the layers that we can see. And now if you look at the little thumbnail, you'll notice that the arms and the body are all together. So we'll just switch on all the other layers so we get our little chat back. There we go. You notice that before I switched on the background layer, there we still had the checkerboard effect. That denotes that the background is transparent at that point. If we switch the background layer on, that's like our white piece of paper. Okay. So to make this little man, we used a couple of selection tools. We used the circle, the marquee, elliptical marquee tool. We used the rectangular marquee tool, and we also used this thing called the polygonal lasso tool. So when we come to cut things out, which is one of the techniques that we use quite a lot, we can start to use some of the other tools. Now what I'm actually going to do is we're going to put this little chap here we're going to flatten him and put him onto one complete layer. So the way we flatten him at the moment, if we try to save this file, we would need to save this, and we want to keep all these layers intact, we would need to save this as what's called a PSD file. So we'll just go off and do that just so we've got a copy. So I'm just going to file, save as, there you go, and you'll see that it's taken the default name, we call it cartoon PSD. If you use this drop down box just here, you can actually save it as various other files, JPEGs, etc. But if you save it as anything other than a PSD file, it will lose all those layers and the image will become flattened. So we need to save it as a PSD file to keep everything intact. So we'll just save it as a PSD. So there we go. So now this is saved as cartoon PSD. Just to show you the difference, we'll also say, if I just look over here in the layers, you can see that all your layers are intact. If I just go File, Save As, and this time choose JPEG, you notice that it puts the word copy on the end. You don't necessarily need that, you can take that off if you wish. There we go, click on Save, and it says what quality you want to save it as. If you're saving a file, the storage on your computer, I always like to save it at maximum. You can always lose quality but you can't add it, so just click OK. And now we still actually have the PSD open. If I want to, I can go off and open the open, and actually go off and open the cartoon JPEG file just here. So we'll just do that and have both images, just so I can show you the difference. So this is cartoon JPEG, this is the layers palette, and as you will see, the image has been flattened and it only has one layer. It's lost all the other layers. If we just go back to the PSD file, you will see that all the layers are intact. Now, as the image has actually been flattened, we can still do various bits and pieces with it. I suggest that when you do, if you actually do start working with layers and you go to a lot of trouble to create an object with layers, then save it certainly as a PSD. What we're just going to do now though is we're just going to show you how to cut out objects and use some of the other tools. So I'm just going to minimize the PSD file, and we're actually going to work on the JPEG file just here. So just again look at the layers, you can see there's only one layer here, and what I want to do is actually select this man and put him onto a separate layer. And there's quite a few ways to do this, and I'll show you one or two of them. If, as in this case, we've got a nice white background, the easiest way to do it is to use something called the Magic Wand tool. If you hover over here, there you go, it says Magic Wand tool, just click on there, and if you click in the white area, it will select all the continuous areas of white within the picture. And so what we can actually do now is we've selected our little man. In actual fact, what we have done is selected the white background. What we really want to do is just to invert that selection so it's only the person, little man in this case. And we can actually do that. We just go select, inverse, and if you just watch the little marching ants there, you'll see that they're now round the little man as opposed to around the white background. So now we've selected this chap, we can actually start to do things with it. We can actually put him on a layer of his own. And just to quickly show you, if we just look at the layers palette, you'll see we've still just got the background layer here. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut him out and put him on a layer all of his own. And the simplest way to do that is to use the shortcut Control and J. So if you press down the Control button and J, and then look at your layers palette, you will see that the selected area has now become a new layer. Basically what the Control J does is the same as if I just take him off there, just go back and use our dual selection again, invert the selection, Control J is basically the same as copy, which is edit, copy, and then edit, paste. If we just look at the layers, there we go, there it is. This was the one that we did using the Control J method, and this is the one we did using copy and paste. So whichever you're more comfortable with, I just like to save time and I just like to do the shortcut as possible, so I use the Control J method. Now if you end up with a layer that you don't need any longer, easy thing to do is just drag it to the bin, and there you go, you have deleted it. So now we have our layer. If we just switch off the background layer, you can see that this chap is now sort of floating in mid-air, and when we come up to the next lesson, what we'll actually do is we'll put him onto a different background. So before we do that, let's just name him. We'll just call it man. Always a good idea to get into the habit of naming your layers as you go along, and as I say, I will see you on the next lesson.